Welcome back to This Week, where we sit down with the voices reshaping California's political landscape and holding power to account. Today's guest is Max Bonilla, better known online as Babyface, one of California's sharpest young independent journalists and political content creators. Max has built a massive following by doing what legacy media refuses to do, holding the powerful accountable. A political science scholar and relentless investigator, Max exposes corruption, hypocrisy, and bad policy in Sacramento with receipts, data, and absolutely zero fear. He has confronted some of the biggest names in California politics, from Governor Gavin Newsom and Katie Porter to Mayor Karen, Scott Wiener, and multiple members of Congress. His work makes him a nightmare for Democrats who abuse power and for Republicans who think they can coast by as rhinos. Max represents a new generation of journalists who aren't owned by donors, parties, or gatekeepers, only by the truth. Today, we dive into his work, his mission, and why California's political class is terrified of young voices like his. Welcome, Max.
Good to be with you, Dennis. Thank you.
Good to be with you, too. You came down from Sacramento.
I did, yes, and it was a neat trip for sure.
A lot of rain?
Yeah, actually up there it's just pouring down.
And it's pouring here, too.
And it's pouring here, too, surprisingly. You don't get much rain down here, do you?
No, this is like, it pretty much came down to 1 week that we get rain.
Wow. Okay, well, enjoy this week then.
Yeah.
It won't go anywhere, though. It won't get put into storage or anything like that. It'll just go into
the rain,
ocean.
yeah. They'll just funnel us straight into the ocean. They're like, you know what? We got a drought. We have fires coming up. Why not just run us straight to the ocean?
Yeah, perfect. I saw the fire department right across the street.
Yeah.
And since you said I'm a guy who confronts people, I'm just like, wait a sec, should I go talk to their boss? I mean,
they're actually the good guys here.
They're the good guys.
They're the good guys here.
Okay, good. So they don't have to run into any trouble with me then.
No, they won't run into any. Yeah. I would, if I were you, I'd go to Mayor Karen's. You ever been to Mayor Karen's?
No, where's she at?
She's at the Getty what do you call it? Getty Mansion. It's actually maybe a 10-minute drive east from here.
Wow, so she's funded by the same people Newsom was funded by.
Yeah.
She didn't eat Wonder Bread, did she?
I don't think she did. No, what's the story around Wonder Bread?
Well, Newsom said he grew up on Wonder Bread.
Oh, that's true. I remember that. He was trying to act like he was poor.
Yeah, so I'm asking, she didn't eat any Wonder Bread, did she?
Because he was like, I had to share a bedroom with my sister. And wasn't that one of the stories he told?
Yeah. I think that's why he sits with his legs crossed. Because he saw
probably
his sister
why.
sit with her legs crossed all the time. So
Yeah.
he goes on these podcasts and does that.
Exactly. That's his thing. He just goes in and tries to prove to the world he has no balls.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, there was an AI-generated video I saw earlier about how he was talking about how tiny they were, and that's why I had to cross his
Really?
leg. I was like, who made this? They need an award. I don't know who made this. They did a tremendous job.
AI is crazy nowadays, eh? There's some videos I can't tell the difference anymore.
No, and that's the thing is it sounds like people's authentic voice.
Yeah.
Between the guy who's responding and the journalist and all of it.
Yeah, I've been seeing the man on the street ones are funny. The ones I saw, there's this TikTok page that was posting a series of videos as like this woman who was a former Trump supporter, but then turned when SNAP benefits got cut. And they're all like 7-second videos. She's like, Trump ain't gonna feed my kids.
You know what?
What am I gonna do?
That's so funny. She was probably one of the people who typed into Google that one of the popular searches is they cut and snap.
Is they cut and snap?
Yeah.
Was that it? They cut and snap?
Yeah, well, hood style. I went to Skid Row. It looks third world. Looks like El Salvador. But a lot of the guys over there, they talk like that. Come on. Yeah, they got a cigarette or they got drugs or something. I mean, these people speak broken English, and these are the people who are taking the government benefits.
Well, I like to tell people that not a lot of people like make that connection that you made about the third world. Like I joke around. I go to Santa Clarita. I'm like, I'm so happy to be visiting over from Africa. Because people don't get it. It really is dire. The situation. Like, what did you see at Skid Row today?
Well, clearly they're people without ETFs or mutual funds. Oh
yeah.
They're not middle class Americans. They're not paying taxes on dividends that get reinvested into their mutual funds, or they're not paying taxes on money that gets drawn out on stocks that they sell from their ETF. These are people who they've got nothing. They've got no pot to piss in. They've got no assets. They're dealing with porta potties on the streets. I mean, these are the lowest of the lowest people.
Yeah, then they're going through a lot, and it's ironic because the class of people that you just mentioned about the ETFs and all that, those are the people who are like drive by that. They're like, oh, I feel so bad about them. And then they're like, let's craft an entire policy that destroys our economy to save them. But it's just they don't actually go in there to do anything.
No, and when we thrust them into jobs or whatever it is, I don't think people can just work and be productive. I think you're going to always have the members of society who are the grinders and who will grind regardless of how the economy is going. Yeah. And you're going to have the people who just aren't going to grind at all, regardless of how good or bad things are.
Yeah, and that's actually an interesting and an important differentiation to make. And on top of that too, like a lot of the folks who are out there, they have some level of mental illness or they're on some kind of drugs. You know, I see it all the time. I mean, you see it on the streets, just walking around Hollywood. It's actually sad. You know, you got lucky because when you came in today, there wasn't somebody camped outside my office. There usually is at least 2 people camped outside my office, and I have to go out there and like bark at them, like move. Otherwise, it covers a whole block.
So, guys, even if you've got awards, I should say, from YouTube, and you have to deal with people camping outside of your studio in California, even if you're in the best part of Hollywood. Yeah. When I walk down some of the streets of Hollywood, look, there are homeless all over the place. You know, it's almost like the last time I walked down there, I couldn't differentiate between this place and Skid Row.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. And you know what's ironic? Across the street from here, there's 2 brand new buildings that cover an entire block each. They're mostly empty, but they have studio apartments, 500 square foot studio apartments that renting for $3,300 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's pretty pricey for the kind of conditions that they're offering here on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
If you ask me. And if you don't mind my asking, was it not LA County? And I know LA County is nothing much to do with Karen Bass per se, but didn't they declare a state of emergency over illegal immigrants not getting benefits from the government?
They did.
Is that accurate?
Well, no, it was actually, they declared a state of emergency because of the ICE raids.
Oh, because of the ICE raids.
Because their justification, I was actually there at the Board of Supervisor meeting where they did it, and I spoke against it. It was me and one other guy who spoke against it, and then 25 activists that followed us. But their justification was, oh, ICE is terrifying families. They're not going to be able to go to work, so they're going to get evicted.
Well, I do have something to say about that, and that is really there's no difference between that and even just what I stated, because these guys probably are on welfare, a lot of them.
Yeah.
They are collecting checks from the government. So really it would be a state of emergency to keep them here, to keep them leeching off the system, to keep them dependent on the system. There are too many that are just like lying around and whatnot, and I have a big problem with that. It's a hardworking American.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to affect your generation the most because we're going into debt to support this social safety net. Right. That, back in the day when people immigrated to America and we didn't have a social safety net, they came here, they were encouraged through the system we had to invest in the country, to buy land, to build up equity, to become a productive member of society. Nowadays, you can come to California and they'll give you free healthcare, they'll give you SNAP, you don't even have to work.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are good places that our money is going to in some regard, right? We have these E-7 fighter jets that the United States government just bought. They spent about $200 million. That's like the latest appropriation on that. Yeah. We need these jets to be able to go to war. Yeah. And we're going to have some of these jets come in 2028 and beyond. And so we need the best systems possible. But when we're throwing money at people who are never going to go to work, and we use welfare as a system that people can forever be dependent on instead of as a stepping stone, perhaps out of hard times or trouble, then it's completely lost its purpose. It's completely lost its way. And I think that Bill Clinton's philosophy behind it, and there were a couple other presidents who had better philosophies behind it, but the way we have it now is not good at all.
What was Clinton's philosophy?
Clinton, he did a rework of the welfare system to try to get people off within a certain amount of years. Yeah. Like if you were unemployed, you couldn't stay on it beyond like 5 years. You had to be back to work. Like it was no joke. I mean, there were some other parameters and stipulations depending on people's situations, but I think it was a better way of doing it. And then there was a Franklin Delano Roosevelt speech, I think back in 1935, about how consistent welfare, that just comes in all the time on a rolling basis and whatnot, that is going to create weakness in society. Yeah. And it really has created weakness in this society. And I think Charlie Kirk really spoke out on, this is an issue he spoke out on. And the fact that we're killing people over this kind of stuff is just ridiculous. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned 2 Democrats, You know, the party took a whole 180 in the last 20, 25 years, you know, and kind of made it their thing to create this dependent class so they can guarantee their votes.
Right. Exactly. No, that's what they're doing. And honestly, Charlie Kirk had some good points. Like there was somebody who asked him about, you know, well, shouldn't churches be giving people meals? Shouldn't they be helping people out? Shouldn't they be helping people get out of poverty? And my answer to this, right, is before the Great Society under FDR, the churches had a lot more money because honestly, I think the fact that our taxes weren't so high, and I think even before we had an income tax, my theory is that people had a lot more of a generous giving spirit. But now that the government takes half their income, it's a lot harder for people to give to churches to be able to supply that to people.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I did the math. I pay about 65% in taxes when all is said and done. When you include federal, state, and county taxes, because they're county taxes as well. Yeah, that is right. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I would think that the county tax would be a sales tax, but is there a county income tax? Is that what you're saying here in Los Angeles?
So I pay property taxes on this place twice. So there's built-in property taxes in the
property tax.
Yeah, so there's it's a triple net contract, meaning that the property taxes and the insurance are built into the price that I pay, the rental price. It's an additional $1,200 that I pay a month on that. And then on top of that, there's other property taxes, like there's unsecured property taxes. And what that means is that the county goes through my tax deductions and they see how much I deducted from all the stuff that I bought. And let's say that I get like a couple $1,000s that the IRS gives me back from all the depreciating assets that I bought. The county will go and say, hey, we're going to take $500 of that.
Yeah, and you're right about property taxes because that's a big issue that the county thrusts on the buildings and even the school districts.
Yeah.
They will thrust extra property taxes on people just to be able to pay for certain projects that they want to accomplish that the state isn't necessarily reimbursing them for, which is insane because that just drives people crazy. They're already overtaxed. They're already overburdened. They're already having a hard time getting by. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, and that doesn't even go into energy, into just gas alone. We pay compounding taxes because we have these built-in fixed fees that are built into the price, right? And then we pay taxes on top of the fees. And what people don't tell us is that the price of the gas already comes built in with a federal tax. So we're paying compounding taxes on two different taxes that are built into the price, right? The federal taxes and the what I guess it's at 90 something cents right now that the state keeps raising every couple of years.
Yeah, right. Well, if you look at Chevron, they've got signs at the station saying, "Look, we need you to sign this online form, and you need to show your support for getting rid of the gas tax." And like you said, all these fees that are built into the price, because a lot of the time these companies have no real control over that. Yeah. And when you go to Chevron here in the Pacific Palisades, about $5.50 a gallon for gasoline.
It's crazy. You know, in Texas, it's like $2.20.
Yeah, and I think people, when they voted Trump in, they were hoping for the Trump effect. But in the blue states with some of the most ridiculous regulatory environments, you're not seeing that same relief at the pump. Yeah. For really good reasons, because of the kinds of things they're imposing on these companies. Not only from the regulatory side, but also you think about California, we're imposing suit after suit after suit on these different companies for whatever reasons, for environmental reasons or whatnot. And the thing is, these companies will not just eat the litigation fees and the costs that it takes to go to court. They'll pass it on to the consumer.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like Zohar Mamdani goes up there, he says, "Oh, I'm going to tax the billionaires." Well, what do you think the billionaires are just going to eat those taxes? They're just going to fire a bunch of people. They're going to cut costs. They're going to figure out a way. They're going to move their money abroad, whatever it is they do. I mean, that's why they're billionaires, because they understand how to work money, right? You don't just happen to fall into being a billionaire. That's why the majority of people who become accidental billionaires or millionaires through lottery lose most of it within just a couple of years.
Well, yeah. Well, Zoran is taking illegal foreign cash.
Yeah.
He should not be taking any campaign donations from abroad, even if it's from his mother, even if it's from his relatives. You're not allowed to do that in the United States of America.
Interesting. I didn't know he did that.
Well, he's violating some codes. You know, I'm telling you. And we used to have a law in the books, by the way, back in the 50s that said if you're a communist, you cannot run for American office. You cannot run for American office.
We should have that again.
We should have that again.
Yeah.
And too bad I was about to cross my legs. Thank God I didn't do that. Just subconsciously. And I had a branch back here earlier. You saw that saying, Hosanna, Hosanna, son of David. I said, I'm not the guy. It was touching me and prickling in my hair a little bit. But see, I just did it again.
It's a habit.
It's a habit.
You're getting comfortable. That's what that means.
Getting a little too comfortable here. No, but that's a good thing. But yeah, it's interesting because we used to have a law in the books that says if you're a communist, you cannot hold office in the U.S. And that was struck down by the federal courts.
Really?
Yeah, a long time ago as unconstitutional. If we still had that on the books, could you imagine? Zoran would not be mayor.
Zoran, Ilhan Omar, AOC, they would all not be in office right now.
Well, yeah, you have a good point about Ilhan. And she fabricated her papers. She's illegal, technically, if she didn't do things with the factually, honestly, and correctly. Mm-hmm. And there was also another person, if I'm not mistaken, the Minnesota state legislature.
That did the same thing. Wait, was it the woman who just got elected to St. Paul's mayor? The Filipino woman or the Asian woman who talked about it on the floor? I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't know if it was her, but there was a woman who talked about it on the House floor of the state of Minnesota. So when it really boils down to it, we have two clear incidences in Minnesota where it's like there are people who are violating the law. They did not fill out their paperwork honestly, and that's a big problem. That means that they are subject to immigration enforcement because we can take their legal status and then subject them to removal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going on at the Trump administration. I don't know if they're trying to implement that. I know they're busy with the lawsuit against the state of California on the part of the DOJ. Mm-hmm. By the way, I talked about that yesterday. And there was a crowd at the Heritage Foundation paying very close attention to that.
Yeah. What happened with that?
Sure. So I pointed something out, right? There was a consultant who drew up these maps that California is now under. And by the way, Texas, they just had their map struck down by a judge.
Really?
So I'll tell you what that means, right? If you think about it like this, that means that if we were doing everything just based off Texas, like Newsom said, then he should walk everything back and say, you know what, Texas isn't doing it anymore, so we're not going to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. Although he may still use the other states as some sort of red herring now that they've done their gerrymandering or whatever. Yeah, more than likely. But I pointed something out. This consultant made a tweet about how the Latinos are going to have more voting power. As a Latino, this concerns me, not because I'm not fighting for my people, like people would say, but because to suggest that Latinos are going to have more power relative to other races
sounds kind of racist.
Sounds kind of racist, right? Yeah. You know, because if you're telling me and you're telling people who are part of my people group that we're going to have more power than whites and Asians and blacks at the ballot box, then this is a clear violation of the VRA. I mean, the Voting Rights Act. And I know here in California, we have a stronger version of it that adds in more protections, even at the, the county municipal level. But, really, what's the point? And a lot of the things that we've enacted builds on court interpretations of the federal VRA that allows states to have racially gerrymandered districts.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't do that. We've got to reverse that completely. And I think right now that's actually up for consideration in SCOTUS.
At the Supreme Court,
At the Supreme Court level. Yeah.
And that was kind of what started the issue because of that. That's why Biden sued Galveston because of a minority coalition district. And that's what ended up causing, but they didn't enforce it. Galveston lost, right? And I think it was Harmeet Dillon who said that she wanted to enforce it, and then that they started the gerrymandering.
Yeah, well, he said if you don't know whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Oh, Biden, yeah.
Yeah, and he's suing. The districts he was suing over were the fact it was just the fact that Texas had some majority black districts. And I wouldn't understand why he would do that. I would think he would want that power because that would have helped him a lot in the midterms. You think about it, 2022 came around and it wasn't the result that Republicans were expecting. But it really surprised me that it was him. So one thing to point out among the Democrats is it wasn't Trump who brought these suits. Like, it wasn't Trump who used the suits as a red herring to try to do the gerrymandering, like just under everybody's noses, like to try to like hide it, basically. What it was a Biden lawsuit that then made it so that Texas needed to get into compliance. Otherwise, Trump was going to enforce what Biden was already getting ready to enforce previously. So really, it wasn't a partisan thing. It sounds like, from my view, that it was a bipartisan thing.
Yeah, because it started with Biden, and then Trump just follow the law. Well, it wasn't even Trump. It was Harmeet Dillon who ordered it. So people keep saying, and Gavin loves saying like, "Oh, it was the Trump gerrymandering. It was Trump. Trump called the I forgot his name, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and asked him to. No, dude, it was literally a letter from the DOJ that." They said, we're going to sue you guys.
Well, he framed it as Trump called him from the Oval Office.
Yeah.
And this was like a Georgia situation. Can you find me 11,000 votes? Like,
which, by the way, is total false narrative. Right. It's not even how it happened in Georgia. And Kamala herself used the same. Right. In a recent interview, she said, her consultant said, we have to find 15,000 votes in somewhere.
Well, so then a duplicate of a false narrative. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, guys, he's doing it again. He tried to find 11,000 votes in Georgia for himself. And now he's trying to do all this redistricting stuff. Another thing, I don't know if you've heard about this, but in Santa Clara they passed some new tax. Did you hear about that? And
I did see that. I saw that it was. I saw that part of what was happening too, where people were confused. Like, how can you have the results of Prop 50 when it took like I think an extra 2 weeks to count that ballot measure, and they're like, you know. But they also voted. Didn't they vote to raise their taxes? Was that what that was?
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I forget what tax exactly they slapped on their people. Yeah, I don't know if it was I think it might have been a sales tax hike.
Yeah,
I don't know why you. I think it
went to 9.5%.
Yeah, I don't know why you would vote for that. That's ridiculous. Because the state average is like 8%.
Yeah,
so they're about 1.5% above that. It may even be less than 8%. I gotta check. I really gotta check the figures on this, but I know it's not close to 9.
Yeah.
9 is something out there. 9.5 even. That's out there, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what these guys are doing. They're already overtaxed. You said you pay 65%. I guess these guys want to pay 80.
Yeah. Well, and it's strange too when you think about it, because it's like the whole state is like losing its mind. Like people are legitimately going out and voting against their own interests. Like they're voting to raise their taxes. They're voting to strip themselves of voting rights. And I think Trump derangement syndrome has really captured the whole state.
It has captured the whole state, and it has captured about 45% of the nation.
Yeah.
Maybe 48, 49%. And I'll tell you what, man, just even here in California, you're talking about how it took a while for them to count the votes. Well, one way to dispel sort of that doubt that people have about the election is a lot of it's mathematically based. So if the Associated Press sees that the numbers, the exit polling or what have you, is coming in at a certain percentage, they'll call it and say, okay, well, we're like 20, 25% of the way in. Yeah. But it's more than likely that the vote is going to continue in this trend. So mathematically, it just makes sense to declare that yes won, essentially.
Yeah.
And the same happens with a lot of other elections. I mean, the reason why we knew Trump won that night is not because all the votes were counted that night, but it's because the way that the votes were trending mathematically, it was only possible for him to win.
Yeah.
So I think if Republicans are going to question that, in any other instance, well, on election night, that wasn't the case either. Still would have taken weeks to count all the votes.
Yeah.
Realistically.
I do think though that we do need like some reform in our voting system. I think that we need to go back to having same day voting, get rid of mail-in ballots.
I agree.
And only like very special circumstances, like you live abroad, like you're with the military abroad, or you're in a hospital, you can't go out, you really want to vote,
Right. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know. I hear so many theories about the way that Democrats, the way they do corruption with mail-in ballots. I don't know if it's the same over up there in Sacramento, but here in LA, there's like so many politicians that have a machine behind them on ballot harvesting. Yeah. And they will literally, they'll go building to building in different districts and precincts and just grab these left behind ballots, right? And because certain parts of the city have, the registrar will accept any signature, even unverified signatures, you have some really shady stuff happening.
They're stuffing ballot boxes. There's stuff going on. And I'm not going to deny it, right? I'm not going to deny reality. And there was another thing that I was going to hit on to that point. Obviously, with all this data, it's easy to forget. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of pressing issues nationally. I don't know what you think about the Epstein files, man.
I want them released.
Yeah, like everybody else.
Yeah.
You're with about 90, 95% of the American people, right? Yeah. Easy. Now, you think about like these books, right? That they put in the schools that are getting banned. There's kind of a point along this line that a lot of the stuff that these guys say and talk about, I mean, that's the kind of content that's in the children's books.
Yeah.
Right? So if the content that was in these children's books were being acted out by adults, they would be jailed for that.
Yeah.
So you would have an Epstein situation where you'd have people, maybe they're part of a cover-up, who need to be exposed and jailed. Mm-hmm. And so with the Congress, right, we had a key vote today.
Yeah.
Sure you saw it, 427-1 in the House of Representatives.
They voted to release it.
With Clay Higgins, though, being the only no vote.
Do we know why he voted no?
Well, I think his philosophical objection had to do with we need to protect the victims. But then again, I think in the eyes of the American people, he's only made himself look stupid.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only one who voted against it.
Look, the friend who drove me this morning said that guy, he's got to get primaried. This guy, he's nuts. And honestly, I think that most Americans would look at it regardless as he's out of his mind. Why wouldn't he just vote to make it, since it was unanimous anyways? You know? He's on the losing side, but by a huge margin. And so this is going to go to the Senate, right? This is going to get passed in the Senate. And Trump says he'll sign it.
Yeah.
My only problem, see, here's my problem with all this is I don't think we need to go through all these procedural hurdles to get it out. Mm-hmm. If you're president, you can declassify things.
Yeah.
And I think this is a way of putting on a show.
Yeah.
And because, honestly, Donald Trump could easily sign off on this. It's easy to sign off on it. That doesn't mean it's coming out. Yeah. You could sign off on something saying it is now law for me to release the files.
Yeah.
But just because you're president doesn't mean you have to enforce it. Mm-hmm. So my theory behind it is he could sign off on it. This could look like a big win, but we still hear nothing about the files themselves.
Gotcha.
Like we have in code, hey, these need to be released, but the code never gets enforced.
Or there's no timeline on when it's going to.
Or there's no timeline. So it could, for all we know, we could have a big document dump in the middle of the night on Christmas or something and not even know.
It could be the kind of thing where they're like, similar to what they did with like Prop 36, where they're like,
oh, yeah.
We're not getting the funding for it.
Oh, yeah.
Bring your mic a bit closer. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
The closer it is, the better it sounds.
I appreciate it.
So that could be, there are several ways they could stall it. And
for sure,
I'm glad that it's finally moving forward. I mean, the whole 100%. Thing's been a fumble from the get with Pam Bondi, the way that she was talking about it, and then the binders, and then we're gonna release them, and then they release these hours of tapes, and then there's like a 10-minute segment or a 1-hour segment that's missing, and it's specifically like around the time of like something happening to him. It's
phase one is all these redactions, right?
Yeah.
And here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want Republicans to get behind this, and then they're getting behind it with the motive of redacting their own names and just leaving the Democrat names on there.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want.
Yeah.
But I do have a feeling that, with Mike Johnson in power, there's a huge possibility for them to vote to release it and then to redact their names knowing that they're safe, essentially, from any criminal liability or punishment or anything because their name's not on the list,
Yeah.
There's nothing to see here, right? So I just want fairness. That's all I want.
Yeah.
If you're on the list, if you went to the island, then you should be jailed. I mean, it's really that simple. And I think I can get a lot of people to agree with me that on that, left and right. And I think Tucker Carlson has been absolutely vocal about this issue. There's just no doubt about that. But I want to be impartial and I want to be fair, unbiased, and I just want to be pragmatic. I want to look at things for the way that they are.
Yeah. I think, honestly, and unfortunately, to the detriment of the women and the people who've been abused, I think there's just so much theater around it.
Yeah.
That it kind of it's become this thing that I think even like, let's say that it does get released in a document dump over Christmas. I don't think there's going to be much there, to be honest. I think that if they had it, like, for example, if they had it under Biden when they were coming after Trump for his accounting, the 32 felonies, it was just 32 checks, 32 lines of accounting, right? They would have used this, So sure, he may have. I saw some reports that he met with Epstein over Thanksgiving in 2017. I think that's weird. I'm like, well, why would you be doing that? I'd want to know more about why he's meeting with Epstein after he won in his first term. But I think overall, if he had done something shady, or if any of the people involved had done something shady, we would already know. These guys don't waste any time burning each other unless, and this is what I think it could also be. It'll expose some of our intelligence assets.
And honestly, too, I think part of it is, let's say they had stuff on Trump. I mean, even if you go after one guy, the whole ship can collapse just because when one guy goes down, a lot of the other people end up getting exposed as collateral.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for me, if I were Biden and I were in office and I saw that Trump was on the list, for example, like I knew I was getting briefings and talking with the right people.
Yeah.
But then they said, oh, look, a lot of these colleagues that you have in the House and in the Senate, they're also on the list.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hold on. No.
That's true.
Let's steer clear of that, because if we try to rat out Donald Trump, it's going to start this chain of people ratting each other out till eventually I'm screwed and my whole political agenda goes down the drain.
That's a good point. That stuff does kind of trickles down.
It trickles down.
Yeah.
Meaning you could try to expose your political opponent, but then you're going to have a lot of vipers on the other side trying to bring you down, knowing what they've got on you.
Yeah. And people in politics are very vindictive. If you don't, and I was just talking to somebody about what happened to Kevin McCarthy, and I don't remember all the details, but they were telling me about how it all started when Kevin McCarthy tried to put a debt ceiling in whatever legislation they were working at the time. And then he got and then that's where everything happened, you know?
Yeah, well, I did make a video about how I wasn't impressed with Kevin McCarthy's work in Congress. We didn't really get anything done.
Yeah.
I mean the parental bill of rights. I mean, what's that gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, just putting on this facade of parents have rights and this kind of stuff, like, why do you need it? Like, a lot of things that we can do don't require legislation. A lot of them require just the enforcement of the laws that we have on the books.
That's true.
So that's the way that I've looked at things, but we try to add additional laws to make it a show. Like, oh, let's prioritize expelling illegal immigrants that have got DUIs. Well, you've already got a ground to expel them.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that they're illegal here in this country. You don't need an additional law that talks about that. So they try to pass these different bills and laws, and I'm just not very impressed. And I remember Kevin McCarthy's PR guy not being too happy that I said something to the tune of that I was just dissatisfied with the work that he did, just in general. If I elect a staunch Republican to Congress, I want to see them get to work for the American people, and that just hasn't been happening.
Yeah. What do you think about his whole situation? Because a lot of people, especially down here in LA, in the local GOP, our county's GOP, that they specifically blame Kevin McCarthy for the state of the party.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of blame to go around. I don't think it can really be pinned on one guy. And by the way, God bless the people at the LA GOP. I love, their chair, Roxanne Hoge, and all the people that work down over there are great people.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of blame to go around. I think sometimes we should even blame ourselves because we're too complacent. Like, there are a lot of us out here that just aren't involved enough. We can exert a little bit more energy into this and, get the right people in office. And clearly, Kevin McCarthy wasn't one of them, because when he got dethroned as speaker, he could have stayed on as a congressman, but he just called it quits, man. He's just like, I'm out of here. Bye. That didn't impress me at all, Like, if things aren't going your way, you're just going to give up.
Throw in the towel, yeah.
Throw in the tawel. I mean, come on. You had that winning spirit when you were elected as the House Speaker, but then, you go down and now you're out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to keep fighting. And so they had to replace him, clearly with Vince Vaughn. So, honestly, if you're not willing to stay, then they'll put someone else in.
Yeah. The state of the party in California is just very interesting right now, because it seems like we have a little bit of momentum. It seems like there are a lot of people defecting from the Democrat side. So it's like we're in this weird in-between era where, like, sure, the Democrats just had all these wins in really strong, like blue strongholds, right? But I think there's an aspect of like, okay, what's going to happen moving forward? Are we going to be able to, maximize the the impact we can have with this momentum in the next coming in the midterms and in the elections after that.
Well, the U.S. government stopped making pennies, and that really reminded me the other day. And I don't know why they did. I need to look this. I need to look this up. I need to look into why they stopped doing that. I mean, but the CHOP, there's some real penny pinchers, man. They're not.
In what sense?
I mean, they're not willing to spend the money that's required.
Yeah.
On these candidates they really need the money. I mean, sure, you could have Bob and Edward and whoever, construction guy with a master's in public policy or whatever, but if you don't exert the necessary money and help with influence and ads and all that as much as you can, they're not going to get elected to office. They're going to have that Democrat that beats them, especially now that we've done the gerrymandering. So, we need to stop being penny pinchers, especially now that there will be less pennies out there.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good observation.
Right.
What are we going to? We're going to have like a 2-cent coin? What's going to substitute the penny?
I don't know, but I know that the Congress was talking about putting Charlie Kirk on some coin that we make.
That'd be good.
Some coinage.
You just see liberals like losing their minds, like just throwing the coin away. They get changed. Like, oh my God.
The libs of TikTok, not to be confused with libs of TikTok.
The libs.
We're enraged about this idea of putting Charlie Kirk on the
really?
coins. Yeah, to have him minted on there. You know what? We should have Charlie Kirk minted on one of the coins just to bug people.
Oh, yeah.
Just to bug that ratchet lady from the hood that's going to Dairy Queen and the change she gets has Charlie Kirk on it.
She's at Dollar General, buying toothbrushes. Like, oh, my God, that's Charlie Kirk.
Oh, my gosh, that's Charlie Kirk. That would be so genius. If Trump, I'm begging you, if you could just sign that into law, get that going, please, Get that going. Like, you ended the Democrat shutdown. Like, you got the Genius Act going. Like, you classified fentanyl as a level 1 substance.
Yeah.
However that looks like in terms of punitive measures that the federal government's going to take. Add the Charlie Kirk minted coin, please, because I think that will increase people's Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
I think people will be making double the appointments to the psychiatrist, but let it be so,
Yeah, I did hear that this psychiatrist was talking about how I think 90 or 95% of his clients come in to complain about Trump.
Really? That doesn't shock me too much because I don't know. And here's the thing. I don't think TDS is a kind of mental illness that you can cure with, pharmaceuticals. I don't think. Try it. But look, I don't think it'll work out for you.
I don't think, because I think it's more of it's something, the people that I've seen that have it profoundly, right? And it's almost like their ability, and sometimes they're super intelligent people. Their ability to think rationally just evaporates. They become little rabid pugs, Trump, you know?
Well, it's interesting because Trump derangement syndrome has increased since RFK has been the health guy.
Yeah.
And, the health nut wants to get rid of Hep B for kids, by the way, which I agree with. The scientists will say, look, this guy is an anti-vax. Now, I'm not anti-vaccine. I'll tell you what. Mm-hmm. The government's job is to make a vaccine available. Mm-hmm. It is not the government's and it is not the government's job to mandate the vaccine. It is just their job to make it available. It is the family's job to make the choice. The family's job to make the choice. So when you put Hep B out there, you shouldn't mandate it just because you're worried about kids coming into contact with their blood or because you're worried about something being passed on from, the mom or the dad or whoever it may be that would cause Hep B or whatever. And honestly, I'm not so worried about it because as far as besides those two things, it's, transmitted sexually. So, to have a 3-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever have to take it for school, this is going to be a controversial take, but I don't know that they need to be taking it. And if they do, then that should be up to the decision of the family. I mean, I know California, they're creating their own ridiculous health alliance with Oregon and Washington because they want to go against some of these guidelines of spacing out the vaccinations.
Yeah.
But, honestly, I hated vaccinations. I had been to doctors. I'd gotten 4 or 5 at a time, and I didn't feel any healthier. Mm-hmm. All I felt was pain on my left arm for a long time.
Oh yeah, I think I saw California's vaccine schedule, and I think before you're 18 months old, I think there were like 25 something vaccines that people take. The parents have to give their children. Some of them include different COVID shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are already so many studies that show the adverse effects of all these vaccines. I know that there are a lot of people who like to push back on the idea that it causes autism or like other mental health mental ability developments, whatever you want to call it. But I just think that the whole paradigm of you have to get all these vaccines, just rushing them out just at such a young age, has to come down to the parents being able to
God
choose.
help us. Look, honestly, here's what I think too with like even the COVID-19 vaccine. Like people were not happy with Trump with the whole warp speed thing. Here's my mentality. My mentality even extends to warp speed, okay? Mm-hmm. Trump can make the vaccine available, right? Mm-hmm. No problem. Make a COVID vaccine. But do not go around, I don't care who you are, if you're in office, mandating that people take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah.
You can go around recommending it. I don't care. Recommend it all you want. Mm-hmm. But let people make that final decision for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about how you got started making videos, because you mentioned you're Hispanic. So I'm Latino too. I grew up in Brazil. My family's from Brazil. So I get these questions a lot. Like, how can you be Latino and be Republican? How can you ever get that?
Yeah, because Republicanism is practically built into the beliefs that a lot of Latinos have, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of Latinos go to church every weekend. A lot of Latinos, they have families. A lot of them are oriented around pro-life beliefs.
Yeah.
A lot of Latinos are oriented around traditional marriage beliefs even, believe it or not, by the way. Just look at this, look at the statistics, look at where they're at. I mean, a lot of them are pro-God, pro-life, pro-family, based and rooted in biblical principles. Mm-hmm. A lot of Latin American countries are historically Catholic. Mm-hmm. So even if you have Latin Americans today who are Protestant, they've still branched off technically from a lot of those beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's like they live by those beliefs and they die by those beliefs as well. Live by the sword, die by the sword. I mean, it's really that simple. It doesn't really get that complicated. And so when they see Democrats going against those values, they're like pushed away from the Democrat Party.
And why do you think that there's that I guess assumption that Latinos should be Democrats, right? Do you think it's purely because of immigration policy, or what do you think it is?
I think a lot of it has to do with immigration policy. I do have experiences, with friends, people close to me, people who I know who are illegally in this country, but that's never really changed my stances, because people have told me, oh, so you probably believe this, but then you would make exceptions for all these people here on the side. Mm-hmm. No, my beliefs are pretty consistent. It's like, if you haven't taken the time to fill out your documentation, or you haven't taken the time to come the right way, or you've really wasted the hours and the days and the years just sitting on your hands as like the most amnesty-friendly presidents were in office, I mean, what the hell? Yeah. I mean, you might have been worried about getting caught. I get that. Okay, my mom's like, well, maybe they worry that they try to fill out some papers and then suddenly they're gone because, they're on their radar now. They're on the radar of ICE. They're on the radar of the federal government. But I'm like, well, isn't that better? It's better to take the chance maybe than to just be on eggshells all the time, and then to risk continue being on eggshells. So I tell her it's kind of like a FAFO situation, like it is with a lot of other things in life. You sit on your hands, you don't take action, you make the wrong turn or decision, then it's FAFO.
Yeah, and even with the mass deportations now, the government has been more interested in deporting criminals first. Everybody else are giving them a chance to self-deport, unless you already have a deportation detainer because you've already gone through the whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I've seen people post videos of, oh, look at this poor lady who's being picked up in the airport. She's practically being kidnapped. But these are false advertisements. I'll tell you why. Because it's exactly like you said. These people, a lot of them who are being picked up, already have detainers out for them. Yeah. So the federal government's saying, look, we're looking for this person. We're looking for that person. And when they come by to come and grab them, there's always some sensationalist there filming saying, look, they're being kidnapped, they're being thrown, like as if they're getting a mask thrown over their face and they're being thrown into the back of a van.
Yeah.
That's not really how that works.
Yeah.
You get put into cuffs like a normal person. You get taken with them, and then, they deal with you.
Yeah, they process you. And I've heard even situations like, car washes will get raided. let's say they take 10 people.
Yeah.
And 2 of them that have criminal records and detainers, they get deported. The other 8 stay. Even if they're here illegally, they release them because they don't necessarily have a detainer, or, you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're painting this picture of ICE just being this brutal, fascistic force. When in fact, they're actually being way more lenient than they should be.
Yeah, I mean, come on. They're not going to the restaurants. They're not going to the Zocalo across the street from your house and just taking everybody. I mean, I know that's the fact is the population is so ignorant. That's how they think ICE operates. They're just going around picking people up. Yeah. That's not how it works.
They're doing targeted, and a lot of the times they're working with business owners. They're like, I think there was a shirt factory. It was one of the first places in LA that got raided. And, they gave the business owner a chance because they knew the guy had a bunch of people working under the table, So, and I mean, it is a serious problem because it ends up affecting the ability of Americans to get jobs. It deflates wages. It makes it harder for people to be able to get a job in those industries. And people are like, well, Americans don't want to work those. I mean, people just have to stop those narratives, right? That Americans don't want to work those jobs, or that Americans, and this is one thing that I break with Trump on, when he said that Americans aren't ready for certain jobs, when he was talking about the H-1B. And I was like, let's just give them a chance. Let's give everybody a chance. I'd rather have Americans working those jobs than, bringing in people from India to work a minimum wage or lower, And
that's the thing. I'm inherently opposed to, I mean, H-1B was great for a while, it worked for a while, but I think the last thing we need to do right now, given all the circumstances, is import more foreign talent, including 600,000 Chinese students. Because not only are they going to push out, domestic students at the educational level, but think about it. When it comes to the corporatocracy, I mean, these guys, they're going to be brutal. This is going to be brutal competition for the domestic workers. They're going to push some people out of the corporate structure. They're going to push some people out of employment.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
They're pushing people out of schools currently. There's a guy I was talking to yesterday. His daughter goes to Pasadena City College, and he said that it was, for a city college, a small city college like that, it was almost impossible for his daughter to get in. She was like very involved in school. She had great grades, but he said that they found out why it was so hard for her to get in when they got to campus, and they saw that about 90% of the students were foreign students.
And that's the new DEI that Trump is helping spearhead, is accepting the foreign talent over the domestic talent because they're foreign.
And so because they pay out of state tuition.
Right, that too. Right. Yeah. Because they're some of these kids are probably wealthy elitists. Like you're talking
They're loaded,
They're loaded with families who are, rich from these other countries. And that's posing a problem because a lot of the kids who are trying to get in here domestically, they're trying to get their foot in the door. They're trying to build something for themselves. Yeah. They might not come from riches. They may come from poverty. They may be first generation. Yeah. But these are people who are trying to build. These are people who are trying to get ahead, and God forbid we let them get ahead. I mean, and then this is compounded on top of the fact that, you've got drug issues in Mexico. It's run by the cartels. And they're forcing more people into this country with those issues, and everybody's now accusing Scheinbaum of being part of the cartels. Look, I don't think any of this warrants invasion or anything like that. I don't think that at all. But I think that we have to keep a close eye on that, and also call out these content creators who are being hypocritical about that, because they'll call out an issue here in the U.S. when they see it. Oh, something's racist. This looks wrong. But when Mexico is doing the same, or they're pushing out legal white immigrants from the United States, no big deal, So when people are given poor treatment in these countries, everybody just writes it off. But when it's in the U.S., somehow we're racist, we're colonizers, we're oppressive. And don't get me wrong, we've had imperialistic tendencies. Like we go to other countries and we overthrow their governments. I mean, I'm not happy with Hillary Clinton and Gaddafi. I'm not happy with us trying to go into Venezuela right now under the guise of drugs, because honestly, Latin America has been plagued with drugs for a long time. Yeah. So to just go in now and say it's drugs sounds like a narrative that's just being propagated, because Mexico also clearly, as we see now, has a problem with drugs, so much so that people are being pushed out into the streets. What we want resources. We're
going in for the cheap oil.
We're going in for the cheap oil. When we're going into Nigeria, potentially, we're talking about minerals that they have. I mean, come on. We're not going to save Christians. We're not doing. I wish we were. If we were going to save Christians, look, I'm all about it. You know the Bible talks about don't stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just trying to extract minerals, trying to extract oil, there are all kinds of books and writings on this. These are things that have been going on all throughout history.
Yeah. And I want to get a better picture. We were talking about this before.
Yeah.
Your background. We're talking about college. You got a degree in poli-sci. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in college? How that was like? Were you embedded in the throes of like wokeness in college,
No.
or did you have were you lucky to not be in it?
No,
And
I had great professors.
that's great.
Great
That's
colleagues.
rare. And you went to in California, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. What school was it?
Jessup University.
Nice.
Great professors, great colleagues, great peers.
Mm-hmm.
Great all the way around, man.
Yeah.
Even the president, he's as conservative as they come. So Jessup University is kind of like the California version of Hillsdale College.
Interesting.
So, but it's smaller.
Yeah.
It's like a lot more compact. So think of a Hillsdale College that's pretty small, pretty localized, pretty community oriented. So that really helped. That's why I chose to go there, because I wasn't willing to put up with all the woke stuff at the other schools.
Yeah.
These institutions are converting kids into Marxists.
Well, yeah, it's part of the playbook to create activists instead of actually educate people with life skills. I'm glad you had that experience, though, because it is increasingly rare. I table at a lot of different colleges. We go to UCLA once a week, and we go to GCC. Great. UCLA, though, there are actually a lot of young conservatives at UCLA. They're just terrified to talk. Like they'll see, they'll start talking to you, and then you just see the panic set into their eyes when they realize, oh, they're watching me talk to a conservative. Oh my God, I'm gonna get ostracized.
Well, last night I was at a party that was hosted by the Heritage Foundation. We had invited some kids from the UCLA, but not many of them came. And we wish that if they were going to remain closeted, because a lot of kids, even from Chico, I've met the sorority girls there. They want to remain closeted. They're trying to go into art careers or teaching careers or what have you, and they're scared because they don't want their career to go downhill, right? Obviously. But with these kids at UCLA, it's like if you're going to remain closeted, you can at least come to our party. Like nobody is filming you and going to publicize you on social media or make it known that you're conservative to everybody. Yeah. You can just come here, and this is a safe space for you to talk to people who are like-minded.
How do you think, in your experience, going through the college system, having somewhat of a different experience than most college students, and seeing that how, I would say, how many kids in your generation are just like terrified to identify? They identify with us, but they're terrified to assume that as part of their identity publicly, right? How do you see us remedying that as a society so that we can, have more open conversations and challenge some of these ideas that are infecting these schools?
Yeah, so one way we do it is through what we're doing now. Social media is a big avenue to help challenge these ideas. And you said you already table, so we got to get more tablers out there. People who are filming, people who are debating opponents, like just back and forth, peaceful dialogue. It's even crazy that when I see Steven Crowder out there now, he's got to have bulletproof glass. To talk to these kids. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's how radicalized some people have become, unfortunately. To live in a nation that's like that. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? My perspective has been that if you're educated, you should know even more so than someone who's uneducated why it's wrong to murder from a theological standpoint, maybe from a philosophical standpoint, maybe from an academic standpoint. But no, academia these days just brainwashing kids, just making them dumb, making them like compliant, into conformity mentality, herd mentality, all that. Just getting worse and worse. And you look at, I don't know if you saw, but like, for example, the San Diego State, did you hear about how they've got all these kids, 1 out of 8 in remedial math?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, no. I tutored statistics as a young man. I was 17 years old when I was tutoring college statistics, and I was dealing with kids who were a lot older than me. But I had always been good at math. It's honestly, I haven't used my math skills in a long time. I haven't taken math. I haven't used math in a while. I mean, years. But the thing is, now that I see these things that are transpiring, I'm like, well, it sounds like they're not being shown these skills in elementary or middle or high school. They need to be shown these skills. And clearly they're being taught by people who are not competent and who are not holding them accountable and who are just passing them along anyways. That's a big problem. You shouldn't be taking math 100 in college.
Yeah.
You should be at a 300, maybe 400 level by the time you get there, because the other stuff, the other remedial stuff is like maybe for, sped kids, or maybe you really had these really difficult circumstances that you had to deal with and couldn't get to math in high school. But other than that, everybody should be at that level, 300, 400 level. I mean, that's what there was that expectation, and we're just kind of changing that now. And when I went to the Palisades, not only were the schools burned, but the mathnasiums were burned, the math tutoring centers, and those are all over. Those are even in my town. And so when I see that, I think, okay, so kids they have less access to some of these tutoring centers that might otherwise help them get through high school math. I mean, integrated mathematics 1, 2, 3, it's not hard at all. I mean, at least maybe people will say, okay, it's easy for you to say because you were in advanced math programs growing up, but I think what we need to do is hold kids to that high expectation. The more we lower the expectation, the worse we make it for the professors, and we're thrusting all this upon them. Low math performance rates, low literacy rates, like people three grades under the level that they're supposed to be at. So this is concerning. And now more people are graduating college less educated, because even those standards are being lowered to meet the standards that are being lowered at the secondary school levels and the primary school levels.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's awful when you think about it, and you put it really well. It goes, California spends the most money in education out of all the 50 states, and we have some of the worst outcomes. We're bottom, bottom 30% of most of what you mentioned, the literacy levels, the math levels. Most kids graduate at like a 6th grade reading level today. And Gavin Newsom's response, actually, he I think it was just about a year ago, his response to all that data was to lower the standards, so that he lowered the state standards to passing. And it doesn't help anybody but him look better, so that he can, when he's running for president, say, oh, no, yeah, we did terrific,
I mean, come on. I mean, kids should learn how to read. They should learn how to critically think for themselves. Yeah. And Newsom has not done that job, because a lot of this is a California problem. Yeah, it's all over the nation, but it's a lot more in California than in some other spots. But, if you go to there are people who think that I'm some sort of dictionary or thesaurus or whatever, but the reality is, if you were to talk to your average theologian, right, they would, if imagine, just think of it for a minute, if they were to read and interpret everything that they get from Scripture under the axiom of one verse taken out of context, they would be all over the place. Yeah, they would sound like complete heretics talking. And so when we teach our kids not to read or to think critically or to think logically, we turn them into mindless zombies or just people who don't know what the hell they're doing or what the hell they're talking about. I think a lot of people, they're void of a purpose, they're void of a mission, they're void of direction in life. And I think that we need to bring that back to these kids in the schools. And I know Newsom, allegedly, he's trying by, thrusting all these male coaches and leaders into schools. And I don't think that that's inherently a negative thing, but if you're going to thrust males in there, thrust real males in there, guys who can lead, guys who've got careers, guys who've got families, guys who've got a resume to show for themselves. And I don't mean necessarily they've had all these great lucrative corporate jobs, but more like they've dealt with the situations required to be able to deal with kids and to hand them the wisdom that they need to know going forward, instead of just shoving a bunch of trannies in there. I would hope not. I would hope he's not taking
hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know with Newsom. He has a thing for them.
Yeah. No lady boys, no boy ladies, none of that.
Just straight gender binary, whatever you're presenting, that's it.
That's it, yeah.
So it's funny you bring up Newsom. Tell us, you were telling me about your first couple of viral videos, what got you started doing this stuff. Tell us how you got rolling.
Yeah, so I had a run-in with him about gender-affirming care, just kind of on the streets, whatever, like a fun little video that I did with an attorney, and he was all smiles, happy day, making his way along. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He must have thought that I was some sort of anime character or something.
What?
But
You think Newsom watches anime?
I don't know.
What do you think is his favorite anime?
I don't know.
You think he watches like One Punch Man?
He might, yeah. One Punch Man. You know, it's interesting. One Punch Man would actually make sense because he's talking about going to the back and punching some of these Republicans. Yeah. You know, Biden.
Really, that's true.
He
yeah.
did, didn't he say something about I'm gonna punch these son of whatever in the face.
Son of a guns. Yeah.
Son of a guns. Yeah. Just to put it politely.
Yeah.
But you know, Biden, he did the same thing too, right?
Yeah.
If I was in high school and he was talking about Trump, I would take him to the back of the law and we would get into a fight.
I'd take him out back like old Yeller.
Take him out back like old Yeller.
These guys love to talk tough, but they're so weak.
They talk tough, but they're weak because when you go and approach them with question,
yeah,
they're ready to fall back. They're like a reed in the wind.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I was in middle school, kids used to go across the street to the Citibank and fight. Yeah. They used to go across the other side of the street to the Jack in the Box and fight. I mean, we had some hood kids. I'm telling you, man. And Biden, he would not be taking these kids out back. They'd be taking him out back. Yeah. And Newsom, he would not be taking these kids out back. They'd be taking him out back.
Yeah, I don't even think.
By the way, that's not a threat. I don't need anybody to come to my house tomorrow.
I think we understood. I think it's
just want to make that clear, just for context.
So wait, what did you ask Newsom that day?
Just why? I mean, why is he allowing 13-year-olds to get their breasts chopped off? 15-year-olds? Why is he allowing them to get double vasectomies or whatever? You know, just or mastectomies. Either way, it's terrible. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that you're permanently altering someone's body, and they're not able to go back and change it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you doing? You're changing their biology forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when, you know, like, for example, Chloe Cole, she went under some of these irreversible procedures. She was supposed to do an event with Charlie Kirk, by the way. If he hadn't died, you know, he would have been there.
Yeah.
But it was regarding this issue. Mm-hmm. Charlie Kirk was a big fighter on this issue. But, I mean, I'm sure if you were to look at her now, she's so vastly different than the way she would have turned out had she not done any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have turned out for the better. Everybody else who underwent these procedures, they lost a lot.
Yeah.
And so when they're suing these companies, they deserve the compensation. They deserve to be paid out because they were scammed and they were robbed of their livelihoods. They were robbed of you know, beauty inside and out. They were robbed of peaceful lives. They were robbed of, you know, getting to spend time with family, just worrying about childhood issues, that kind of stuff, you know, things that we would consider trivial compared to what we deal with in adulthood. Playing card games instead of, you know, worrying about some side effect from either the hormones or the surgeries that they underwent. And don't get me wrong, they're still great people. They're still good-looking people, but a lot, I mean, it really screwed them up. It really screwed them up, and that made me want to fight for them. The second time was when Newsom was coming out of an elevator. It was to talk about immigration, just how he was letting all these people in. 500,000 people crossing the California border in 2023.
Yeah.
Illegally, by the way.
Yeah.
And so he let all these people in. You think about it, 500,000. And we already allow a bunch of students from Mexico to get tuition-free community college education here. Mm-hmm. So what do? We let in a bunch more, then they take over the systems. Sac State has 10,000 illegal alien students. Probably some of them are the ones coming from the border.
Wow, 10,000?
Yeah, and the CSU, I think they said something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Libs of TikTok did post about this. There was a stunning figure about Sac State having so many illegal alien students. But a lot of these other schools in the CSU system, they have so many illegal alien students. But guess what? They're taking somebody else's spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing. And Newsom now signed a bill to where a lot of kids that meet certain requirements in high school are going to get automatically inducted or enrolled into some of these like CSU schools, these state level schools, where they can start freshman year. They don't have to worry about the whole rigid application process as we see it today. It'll just be like an automatic thing, like, hey, you've got such and such GPA, you're good, you're in to whatever school of choice. But how's that going to work, you know, when you're letting all kinds of illegals in? They're already competing for spots. You're putting them in the universities. What kind of funding do we have for that? We were dealing with budget deficits. And, you know, where's the education funding at to help them out? So it's a little too much. I think these politicians, they create more and more moving parts as the years go on. And then they wonder why they run into so much trouble. Yeah. And this guy's going to run into a lot of trouble. And so when he tries to run for president, I'm telling you, I'm going to campaign for J.D. Vance. I mean, as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah, I think 100%. I'm going to campaign too for JD Vance or whoever ends up being the nominee, or if it's Rubio, whoever it is, I'm going to push for all those guys.
Well, right.
The thing that's curious though is just how interesting how Democrats have really stripped merit from the conversation when it comes to education, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to, everything. It's like they completely hollowed out that part of America. America used to always be about merit.
Yeah, it sure did. And they've changed that, and that culture is still continuing to change because you're having socialists get elected in these different cities. Mom Donnie got elected in New York City, and forgive me, what mayor got elected in Minnesota? There was a weird socialist that got elected.
There was. Are you talking about the one in? No, that's in Dearborn, Michigan. They have an Islamist. The one in Minnesota is. I know who you're talking about. The one that said she's illegal in St. Paul. That said she's here illegally.
There was a woman that was running.
Yeah.
And one of the campaign ads she ran is about how people didn't have spaces to poop or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. No, seriously, white woman, I think, Caucasian looking gal, but just talking about how people didn't have spaces to poop. In San Francisco, there's plenty of spaces to poop. You can just go defecate on the streets.
Yeah. San Francisco.
I mean, at least she's not on board with that. I'll tell you that. That's a good
San Francisco is basically India and a poop festival.
You know what? That's funny because when I heard about that on the internet, right, the Indian Poop Festival, I looked it up on the internet. Is this real? Real? It's a real cultural thing where they're throwing cow dung at each other.
Yeah.
And look, I'll tell you what right now. I am not a racist man. I'll eat curry, but don't import that culture into my country, please, for God's sakes. If you're gonna bring your Indian self over here, I don't want people throwing dung at each other.
Well, I'd say we have something worse in San Francisco. We have human feces on the street. That's literally, I mean, depending on where you go. I mean, I see this all the time in Hollywood. I'm walking around. I see poop on the street. I can't tell sometimes if I have to look at it twice. Is this human or dog?
Well, I'll tell you what. If I was president and people started these Indian cow dung throwing festivals in the U.S. and they were on a green card, they would have their green cards revoked right away. You'd be going back.
You're like, you're out of here.
You're out of here, right? If you're, I don't care if you're making tacos on the street. I don't care if you're making fried chicken. I don't care. I don't care what you're making. I don't care if you're making curry. I don't care if you're making chow mein. But when you start really just going all the way out there, we're gonna have some problems, man. We're gonna have some problems, real problems.
And where do you see the party going in California and the nationally? I see you mentioned JD Vance. Do you think he's gonna be the nominee?
I do.
Yeah.
And he better be.
Yeah.
He's the best option they got in the GOP.
Yeah.
If they pick somebody else, I'd be like, what the hell are these guys doing?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's going to be some dude who comes out of the shadows, no name ID, whatever. I mean, you could try to Barack Obama the right wing, but I don't think that's really going to work. I think you got to have somebody who's stable and got name ID, because the Democrats, they're bringing up someone stable with name ID.
Yeah, they're bringing up Newsom.
Yeah, they're bringing up Newsom. So you got to get JD Vance in because I think he's the best shot we got. Best shot for sure.
Well, even with Newsom, I'm curious to see how he's going to survive the primaries because that's really where he's going to get tested. Once Democrats, because right now it's just Republicans that are going after Newsom. Once he starts getting some shots from his own side, then we'll know, because that's what happened with Kamala. Kamala, people hated Kamala in California, but the rest of the country didn't know. So they bought initially into the narrative. She actually pulled pretty nicely at the beginning, but then she started taking shots at the debates. And then Tulsi ended her career, basically. And that's where it was game over. She dropped out.
Yeah. Kamala, I mean, she really talked bad about Biden.
She did that too.
I was the girl you made sit down over the back of the bus.
And he chose her as his vice.
Yeah.
Well, it was better than his other choices. You heard what his other choices were?
Yeah.
It was Stacey Abrams or Karen Bass.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of sweet women of color I would sit next to gladly in the middle or the front of the bus. But Kamala's the one I would have said, go to the back, Kamala, go to the back. Not because of your color, but because you're a nasty person.
Yeah.
And you're a chameleon and you just change. You change with the wind. You change with, the chemtrails in the sky. You change with anything.
What do you think about Kamala? Her word salads?
Yeah. We can't, look, if we elect a president. I don't want Cobb salad for lunch every day.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the digest. I want someone who can speak eloquently. You know, I'll tell you, Obama had a lot of eloquence. I'm not a fan, but he had a lot of eloquence. He knew how to talk, that guy, you know? And I think that he knew how to articulate himself. So, you know, if we get a Democrat at some point again, and I do think that we will, it's kind of a cyclical thing, then I want someone who's articulate.
Yeah.
Like, at least know how to lead, at least know how to talk and communicate with people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't care if it's a Hispanic person or a black person or whatever. Just be clear, know how to communicate, because Kamala is not one of those people. I don't know how she wound up as vice president. That's still...
It was DEI.
It's DEI, yeah. That still blows me away. But it's not even the best form of DEI, right? Because the traditional form of DEI that people look for are guys who are competent but just happen to be people of color. Yeah. Whereas Kamala Harris was neither. She was not competent at all. She was just a person of color.
She just checked the right boxes.
She just checked she checked some of the other right boxes. She had a resume as Attorney General. I don't know if I've shared this, but she actually she went after my pastor with some lawfare on bribery charges that were made up, though. They were not things that he had done. They were made up against him. Somebody else in his department won't disclose the name or anything like that, but this was something handled. He I think worked for Caltrans, and then he also worked on a lot of civil rights sort of white collar stuff, and he was getting in trouble with white collar crimes and stuff that were not committed by him, right? So he had Kamala go after her. He had Javier Becerra go after her and carry the case, and he had to take a hit. Yeah. He had to confess to something and take a hit, which of course is ridiculous given that he did nothing wrong. But she kept trying to pursue a case that didn't have too much evidence to back it, and so she was vicious, but with all of the wrong people. Yeah, in my opinion, she was vicious with the people who were trying to do the right thing, the people who are law-abiding citizens. She was not vicious with the people who are criminals and thugs. I mean, even in San Francisco, you look at her, all she's doing is promoting amnesty, and we're going to have a sanctuary city, and we're going to evade ICE. There was a big problem with that. And she shouted out George Gascon when he was at that time in the city, and he had a position in the city, and he was DA, I think, of San Francisco, if I'm not wrong, before or at least the chief of police, before he went to Los Angeles and really screwed them up. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad he's out.
Oh, I'm 100% glad he's out.
I mean, we're here right now. Should have recalled him a long time ago. Yeah. And honestly, there was all kinds of violent crime that was not even being prosecuted, not even being brought before a jury or a court, and I'm glad you guys got in Nathan Hochman. Don't like the guy, by the way, because he's all about Kamala. He's all about left-leaning views and promoting that stuff. But at least he prosecutes crime. That's a good thing. I'll give him that. He prosecutes crime.
Well, I think it's all calculated. Yeah. The way they do it, where they allow crime to just go rampant like that, because it's part of the Leninist playbook. You let these crises go out and get out of hand, and all of a sudden you have a justification to just expand the reach and the power of the government so it benefits you.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're doing, man.
Yeah. Well, Max, thank you so much for stopping by.
Absolutely.
This was a lot of fun. I'm really glad we finally got to do this, because we met over at the convention in Anaheim.
We sure did.
A few months back, and you've been traveling around and hitting up all these different places, and I see your videos pop up, and they're always you're always going viral for talking about something. You're out at the Capitol building, exposing Newsom for being a hypocrite with the construction.
I'll gladly do it again and again.
Yeah, you're out in Skid Row. Anything people should look out for that you got coming up next?
Yeah, well, there's going to be a video from Skid Row talking about the inhumane conditions that have been allowed to just proliferate down over there. Yeah. Because honestly, I went to Skid Row. I told you it looks like a third world country, looks like El Salvador. But the reason I said that is because, you've got, not to say anything bad about this, but you've got, it's mainly Latinos that are there, but that are homeless and suffering and and then also like these street vendors that, have got these weird looking tents. Like everything is just sort of ratchet over there. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put it out there like that. And me as a Latino, I walked there and I think, well, okay, so they're making Latin food. This looks like a church where a bunch of Latin people go. There's like graffiti all over the place. There's crap all over the ground. There's piss smelling everywhere. There's poop. So I'm thinking, I'm not in Los Angeles. I'm in El Salvador. What is going on? And Bukele cleaned it up, and there's no doubt about that. But I'm sure before he came in and cleaned it up, there was a lot of stuff like that going on.
Yeah.
There's people doing drugs or shooting themselves up or doing selling under the table, that stuff was going on over there.
Yeah.
We got to be careful not to take our cameras out, because the kind of guys we see up over there look pretty sketch, man.
It is. It's very sketch. I mean, I know people who go down there and they they go down there with their prayer groups. They pray over people. They do stuff, but they get into some hazardous situations. You're in a volatile environment, and even if you're going there to do like missionary work or document it, because everybody down there, you effectively have thousands of people down there that have nothing to lose.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. My grandpa, he was sent on a mission for the Salvation Army, just to go to San Quentin.
Yeah,
man, he was terrified. People in there,
wow.
Those are some of the worst of the worst. I mean, we're turning San Quentin into a rehab center. Not sure that I agree with that. We were supposed to execute some of those people. That was like some of the people that were on death row. I think were in there, just like the killers, the murderers, all that stuff. So he got real terrified, wanted to turn back. And so when you're doing missionary work, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You're talking about Jesus, you're talking about God.
Yeah.
But sometimes you run into some of the biggest lowlifes, and they're there. They were there, and then now they're just being moved out, or this is being turned into a rehab center rather than a prison.
Yeah.
So this is more like, we're going to get you guys to be functioning members of society again, which I think is fine. I don't mind giving people second chances, but in this case, where it's like the worst of the worst, there's some people who you just can't rehabilitate.
Yeah.
It's like, these are people who you can spend your whole life counseling and giving advice to, and they won't change.
Yeah, it's either the drug use or something else that just permanently alter their brain, and they can't be reintegrated as productive members of society.
Right. Exactly.
Well, Max, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have a limited amount of time. You got to go to other places before you head back home. If you want to take a moment and look into the camera over there, I know you don't have to. This guy has a huge following already, but if you want to just let people know how they can find you.
Yeah, so you can go to babyface.boomer on Instagram, Facebook. My name is Max Bonilla. You can go to the same handle there on TikTok. You'll find a picture that looks exactly like me up on there, no problem. You're right. We've got limited time. We've got some beautiful boys and girls to talk to who are our age, who are also part of the movement, and we're trying to get them involved. And they really want to be involved. They text me passionately. A lot of exclamation marks, by the way.
That's great, yeah.
And so, babyface.boomer. And then on X, you can find me on my name, Max Bonilla. YouTube, same thing. I mean, really, Max Bonilla, you type in that name, that hallmark of a name, and you'll find the things that you need to find on the internet.
Well, thank you so much, Max, for coming through. We finally did this. I'm really grateful to have people like you in the movement who are young, extremely bright. You're by far one of the most intelligent people that I've talked to about this stuff. You're so well informed, and you have a very profound understanding of not just what's affecting California, but the how to address those issues. And you're actively doing something, which is great. And it's a pathway to show other people from your generation how to do it. And the fact you do it with boldness and courage, even though there are real consequences for being a conservative in California nowadays, is something that it's inspiring, and hopefully inspires more people at home to do it too.
Amen. Yeah. Federalism education, political education, it's all important. I'm involved with several organizations making things happen.
Well, thank you so much, Max. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Dennis. God bless.
God bless you too.